As I'm working and finishing up on my Honda, I rebuilt the carbs. All this trouble started with a leak in one carb, and I figured it's a float. I rebuilt the carburetors. While I'm at, I scrubbed the radiator out, and I put new hoses on it. I'm doing everything. So I started putting the cowling back on, and this has a lot of fiberglass on it. I got this far and that far on the other side, and I thought I better run it to make sure there's no anything leaking, I haven't missed anything, and started it up. And I had the exhaust off that side. I put it back on, and over there I just have a habit of, when I start it to check it and everything, I put my fingers down around here real close, and over there I could feel air coming out of it. I had the shield on, and it's right back in this area. I kept putting my finger around, and I kept feeling air, and I thought, well, I had disturbed this manifold where it goes on. I thought I had some new crushable gaskets. I didn't have any, so what I did was I put a little bit of copper seal. This is for mufflers and stuff, but it's a high temperature gasket seal, and it has actually copper in it. So I put a little bead around both of those, put them up in there. I thought that way, they're already crushed once if they don't exactly line up. But it did a nice job. I felt it wasn't coming from there. It was coming down here. So it was like the exhaust. And the way I would feel it is, I thought, there got to be a pinhole in there. So I shut it down, let it cool off. I took a paint pen and I marked in there right where I would feel that air. Took it off, and here's what I found. I have the exhaust painted with a heat treat paint and everything, and it was right up in here. I felt it. So I took a wire brush and I cleaned it off real good, and from here there's a crack that goes down here around the other side and up to here. So there's probably 75%, 80% of that cracked around there. It's ready to break off. So the first thing I thought of was I could braze that. Brazing would make it nice and strong and heavy, but I thought some of this metal out here may be a little fatigued. It don't look quite right. And I thought, I have a better way of fixing it. So what I did was I calipered this. I went and I found a piece of pipe I had that I wasn't using. I don't even know what it was from. So I cut a piece of that, 1 3/8 long. I wanted to put it in here, but I don't want it up where it's going to start bending. I want it to set flat there. So I cut 1 3/8. I cleaned it, I worked on it, and what I did was, here's how I fix them. I put a stainless steel, a real good clamp on there first. I took my piece of pipe and I cut it here and here. Then it was, when I put it over like this for 2 parts, it was way loose. So I would take one of them, I'd cut a strip off of here back, then I'd check it, it was still loose, I'd cut one off of this side. I kept going back and forth, and finally I got it to where it fits like that. Now I don't want to make these even. I'm not worried about that. I'm pushing these clear down against that weld there. And now they are on the pipe. And to test fit it, I put this, I can put this hose clamp any place, because this is just a test fit. And even when I go to put it on, I can move the clamp if there's something going to hit it. But if I tighten this down now, there, now I can't move it at all. And like I said, I'm going to push this down a little further. If these two are off, it don't matter. It ain't going to hurt. It's under that shield. It's not going to show, just so the clamp don't hit. But we're not finished yet. So let me take these back off. Now what I'm going to do, slide this down, take these off. Now when I go to put these on, it shouldn't matter. It looks like it would fit like that really good. Have the split there and there. It seems to fit nice. but it's tight. So what I'm going to do is lay these out, and I'm going to put JB Weld all over this. I'll do one, set this on there, do the other one, then I'm going to clamp them up, and I'm going to put enough that it's going to push out a little bit. I want this completely sealed between here and here. Now the JB Weld I use, and I've said it before, is I always use the they have the red and black. That's like the most common. But what I do is I found the red and yellow JB Weld in the little tubes. The red and yellow, it seems to get harder quicker. It seems to be harder. Just from my experience of using them, it seems to be a little better. So I always go with that. I don't go with the black and red. I go with the black and yellow. And so what I'm going to do is get them to get that clamped up, then let it set for a while. And I can even go put it on, because it's not going to hurt it once it's clamped. But by clamping it, it's going to make this structure in here, this whole structure right in here, a lot more solid than if I just brazed it. You know, I don't want to braze up a great big thing back and forth clear across it. I just want to do something like that, and that will hold it together. And I've checked that all around. But anytime I deal with something like that and I have it off, and even if I haven't, if I got the flaring off this thing and I can get in there, I take some time, let it idle, put my fingers all around the heads, this and that. If there's anything, you'll feel it, you know. And that was just about ready to break. So let me fix it and show what it's like after it's fixed. So there's the JB Weld that's black and red tubed. And it says it's 3,960 psi. Well, I started liking this better, this black and yellow tube, and the strength on it is 3,127. So actually the red and black is stronger, but I just seem to like this better for some reason. I know it dries quicker, gets harder quicker, and I like that. And so you can see my bond in here, the two pieces of pipe on it and the hose clamp. I mixed up a lot of the yellow and black, put it on these pipes on the inside, and then put them on and just squeezed them real easy, put the clamp on. I squeezed it down, but I didn't squeeze it, I mean really tighten it up. I left a little bit like so that it would squeeze out and just stay there, and it come out the two cracks there. And I mean, that is making this whole section right here really strong. So I think that'll be good, and when it's all done, I can just hit it with some of that black heat resistant paint, exhaust paint. You won't even notice it. There's a shroud over it, but that will be sealed up good. And then before I put the covering on this side, all the fiberglass, I'm going to check that exhaust air to make sure it's not the same. Down underneath, I had taken exhaust off when I was doing the back wheel and the brakes and all that. It had a lot of holes in, and I filled up with JB Weld, and it worked great. So this bike has had that air induction system, and what that is, Suzuki Boulevards have it, Yamaha V-Star has it, this had it, and the man that sold it, he had it right in. When he put it on Craigslist, he had it even there, he eliminated it. And you can get a kit to eliminate it. You put plates over where, it's right by the exhaust where it comes out, and the heat goes down there. What it does is it puts it back in to the exhaust to burn the excess fuel. And what it does is it's for, you know, not putting that into the air. It's what like emissions. So he took that all off, and I know he had written about he had to change the petcock for it. I haven't looked into it that much, but these have carbs. The 4 carbs on this bike, really love that, because just like that, I rebuilt them. I know fuel injection ain't bad. You know, you can change them, you can test them, this and that, but whatever it is, and started it, it run great. But if you have this bike with those lines on, and the Suzuki and the V-Star, I'm going to show on my Suzuki right where they're at, and you need to check them. I've been out different times and I've seen people with them, and I'd go up and start telling them about how those burn out. And the 2 pipes for the V-Star, because my nephew had one, we called, what do you want for them? And they burn out right where they bend, because all that heat builds up there so much. It was going to be over, for the 2 pipes, it was going to be $200 and maybe $20 or $30. And both of them had burnouts in it. And we noticed it was louder, and he said it wasn't running just perfect because that was letting air out. He wasn't getting the back pressure from the exhaust. And I said, don't buy them, I'll fix them. There was holes in there, so I squared them out, and I took a heavy piece of metal and cut a little square and put back in, put JB Weld on it first, put it in, just left it go so it didn't fall inward, and just let it right there, didn't touch it till it got hard. Then I went over completely with JB Weld. I did both his pipes like brand new. He took it out. He said he noticed it. I could tell the difference in the, because he had the stock pipes on them, and it just it was just like new. That JB Weld works. It holds the heat. And like I had shown on the Suzuki, the guy took a big hole saw, cut the baffles out. You know how they bend them and rip them out. Well, I put plates in there and a piece of pipe. I had a video up about that, and I replaced them, put them back in there. Now the baffle that goes up inside, I don't know what he ever did, the guy that had it before me. I didn't have them, but it's quieted down a lot. Plus it gets the back pressure, because boy, when I'd be going up a hill, that thing, you'd hit the gas, oh man, it's loud. I mean, I just didn't care for it. I like it quiet. So, and it seemed to run all right with all that out, but I just didn't care for it. So I replaced the back end. When you step back and look at it, take it for inspection, I didn't know if they'd say something about that being cut out. They could have, but when I take it to a car place to get it inspection, man, they never said a word. They looked at it, well, you know, it's in there. You can't tell what's inside the pipe because the baffles in there were gone, but it worked great. No trouble at all. I'll show you on the Suzuki what the pipes look like. The way my Suzuki's set, and it might be a little difficult to see in there, but it's right back in here. There's a little chrome pipe. If you can see it right back in between these. This is a cable for my clutch, but this right here, that little pipe right back in there, that chrome pipe. There's one comes off the front and one off the back, and they go down there, and you can see where they come off right here at the bottom, right in here. They're right there, and right on like a bend like this. Only it's one that's usually further down the line. It'll burn out, and you won't know it. You'll put your finger there and rub up and down it. You'll feel it, and once you find it, you need to fix it, because that heat coming out of there can really be around something and mess something else up. So I have shown different guys, especially the V-Star, it seems like they burn out, and they're not cheap to replace, so I just fix them myself. After painting it with heat resistant paint, and it's hard and all dried and everything real nice, I tell you what, it looks really good. That's not a bad thing, because like I say, if I ordered one of these sets from eBay, it's going to be used probably, and it might even be bad in there. So if one is, probably they all get a weak spot there. But anyway, that finished up, and when I go to put it on, I can loosen this hose clamp and turn it if it's in the way, but I don't think it'll be in the way, and the cover will be over it. You won't even be able to tell. And that's using the JB Weld. As I said, I like the JB Weld yellow and black. It dries, sets in 6 minutes, cures in 4 to 6 hours. It dries faster, but they say this is stronger, the black and red, but it sets in 4 to 6 hours, and the cure time is 15 to 24 hours. So, you know, you have them both. They're both good. They work about the same. This one's stronger, this one dries faster. And I was at Lowe's yesterday, and I was looking around, getting some things, and I looked, and there was a display case there, and I looked. Whoa, look at those tubes. They had these on sale. They didn't have the yellow and red. They had the black and red, which I can use. And I looked at that, and this was like, I think, $20 or $22, right around there. But I think you got a lot more in here than you do these little ones. They don't show ounces or, oh, okay, right here, 5 ounces here. What's these little ones? I'm starting to roll them up so I can't see them. Right here, 1 ounce. So these are 1 ounce. This is 5 ounce. So really, it's, I imagine they mean 5 and 5, so you'd have 10 ounces. Here you'd only have 2. And this stuff, I don't know exactly what I paid for this. I don't know the price, but this, like I said, it's around $20, $22, right in there someplace. But man, I seen that, and I've been needing some, so I said, oh man, I got to get that. And beautiful day out today, so I am going to work, get this buttoned up and get it all done. And I had run it, it ran great, everything's good. Just got a lot of things to do like that. The Honda ST 1100 and probably 1300, you have a lot of these bolts like this, and they have a shoulder, and that's so that you can tighten them down. Then there'll be like a piece of fiberglass in there, and it might have some of them have rubber on them, and you put an Allen key in them. And the thing of it is, I needed one. There was one missing. So I thought, well, I went on eBay and I looked, and there was people selling like a whole bunch of stuff together, and usually it's like $60, $70 for all of that to get a bunch of these and that. And I said, got to be a better way. So I went to the hardware and I bought this bolt, and it's 6 millimeter, and the thread is 1.0. And there's some other ones that are smaller. This is, I think, actually smaller. And you have to check what thread you need and everything. And I get them as long as I can so that I can always cut them off, shorten them. Then I had a rod, and I believe it was out of a treadmill. I had bought a couple treadmills for taking the motors off and using them, and then I used the tubes that are under there to pour my aluminum, and I think these were in there through them tubes, and it's a perfect size. So as you can see, I drilled a hole up through the end, and I went way up in here as far as I could, drilled it. Then I just cut it off the piece I need. And I think most of them are, if I have a set of calipers, and I'll put a little mark on it at 200 thousandths. So it's a little less than a 1/4 inch. And I cut a piece off. So I have a little, just like a little spacer right there. And I'm doing this with one hand. Well, first, I got some washers too. And I put the washer over that, like that, because this end, you can see it's kind of big out around here. So that takes care of that part. Then I just take my spacer, put up on there, and there I have it. I have the threads I need, I have the spacer, and this spacer, if I need a smaller one, I cut that down in the lathe. If this diameter here is a little too big, I just cut it down in the lathe, put the washer on, and there it is. And I can get these bolts a lot cheaper than if I'd buy a whole pile of these, because I don't know how many I need, but I'll always be able to just go ahead and whip one up and do it. So it's always, I make stuff I try to use like that instead of going and buying more and more money, just like a JB Weld. I've been buying so many of them little packs. Bought the big pack because I'm going to be using it. So have a good day.